Greetings, everyone. My name is Dr. Betty Speaks, and thank you once again for tuning in to Overcoming Battles. Remembering that strength doesn't come from what you can do, it comes from overcoming the things you once thought you couldn't. This is an intentional, motivational, plus inspirational show that is filled with nothing but wisdom that will awaken your hope, your ambition, your faith, and inner strength, plus cover a variety of genuine life changing topics designed to encourage listeners worldwide with the knowledge again that hope, that strength doesn't come for what you can do. It comes from overcoming the things you once thought you couldn't. And listen, I have a phenomenal young lady as our guest today. You know, we are in Cancer Awareness Month. So we're going to be talking about cancer awareness all month long. Ideally, because of the stats, you know, statistically, um, more than 1.2 million people find out that they have cancer every single day. Yes, every single day. And those stats comes from the American Cancer Society. And I have to tell you that I have a guest here with me today. She is Ambassador Tracie Randolph. Did you hear that? Ambassador Tracie
Speak that
Randolph.
into existence. I love that.
Yes, I actually got to hear her speak on a different podcast. I think it was earlier this month, right, Tracie? Was it
Yes,
early?
yes.
Yeah.
From,
And
from defeat to triumph with Antoinette Marie Speaks.
yes, yes. And honestly, as I was listening in to her, because you may not know this, but Ambassador Randolph is like a sister to me. You know, it's that sister from another mister. And I've fallen in love with her spirit, with her energy. She has a show that comes on every single day. What's the name of your show?
It's the workout show.
It's the workout show. She's the reset coach, you know. She's that reset coach. And when I first started following her, actually she had a challenge that was going on. And I thought that all I had to do was like 25 sit-ups, 25 jumping jacks, or 25 this. The number would stay at just 25. But when I tell you she moved that number up to 100 and then three sets of 100, I'm thinking, this girl is trying to send me to my grave, you know? But it was very encouraging. And I'm honestly, she is so consistent with things that she does. But to hear her say that she is a survivor, I that just took me back. I was taken back, honestly. And I listened to her story, and I was just shocked, you know. I'm thinking, no, not my baby. I Who would have known? This woman that does like 300 sit-ups every 2 seconds, or 500 side straddle hops, you know, three times 500, and she's a survivor. So I'm not going to hold you, but like I said, this month is cancer awareness, and I just want her to share her story, share what it was like when she found out that she had cancer, what led up to that. Just so the audience, the listeners could hear and be aware of signs. So I'm passing the mic over to you, my sister.
Sure.
Yes, tell us who you are, what you do, and then tell us about that moment.
Okay. So, hello, everyone. I'm glad to be here today with my sister from another mister, the beautiful spirited Dr. Betty Speaks. And I am, as she said, a cancer survivor, but I am a health coach born out of my cancer and having cancer and finding my passion. I'm a health coach, a life coach, and a personal trainer. And I am the mom of a wonderful 13-year-old son, which is my most important job of all. But I came into finding out about cancer just from taking a shower and feeling a sharp pain in my right breast and just being proactive about going to the doctors after that. I couldn't really understand why that happened. It was just a quick, really sharp, really piercing pain, and I couldn't really figure out what was going on. And I said, well, let me just go to the doctor, just take precaution and go to the doctor. And my doctor said, I went to my OBGYN and he said, well, I'm going to send you for a mammogram. But he said to me, his words were, I don't think it's going to be anything, but let's just take precaution and I'm going to send you for a mammogram. So when I went for my mammogram, initially they said, like, it's inconclusive, but we're seeing something, we want you to come back. Did another one, and lo and behold, they found 2 tumors in my right breast. So I went through the process of going back to my doctor, and he sent me for a biopsy. So when I went for the biopsy, they said, well, where those tumors are placed, we're going to have to do 2 separate biopsies. So I went in for the first biopsy, and I had my mom with me, and we were there. I got the first biopsy done, laying straight on that table and going through that process of having them take samples of my breast tissue. So they said, okay, you have to come back because of where it's placed. It's a tumor in a different area. It's a little more difficult to get to. We need to have a different doctor come in, and we're going to have to take that second biopsy. So when I went in for the second biopsy, I had already put out of my mind that I had cancer. I'm like, there's no way I have cancer. This is just a precautionary measure. They're taking the biopsy. And I told my mom, I said, you don't have to come with me because I know what the process is now. And this is just a precautionary measure. Nothing's going to happen. Nothing's going to be wrong. Lo and behold, I get in the room to do the second biopsy. And the nurse says, and the doctor says, the first biopsy came out positive, it's malignant, and you have cancer. So I was sitting there in shock at first, and they tell me to lay on the table, and I'm laying on the table, and if you know about biopsies, like, you have to lay very still when you're getting a biopsy. And it's this awkward, like, metal table that you lay on. And I had just to be a little graphic, right? Because I want to paint a picture of what I was kind of going through and the scene that was there while I got the news, or when I got the news, I should say. So I'm laying on this table, and I have my right breast, like, in this hole. And underneath the table is where the apparatus is that takes the biopsy sample. And the nurse is rubbing my arm, and the tears are just streaming. And I'm trying to think about laying completely still while these tears are streaming down my face, and I have this news that the first tumor was positive. So, I'm in shock because like I said, I had already put out of my mind that I had cancer. I was like, there's no way I have cancer. So that was really the picture. And I didn't mention this on From Defeat to Triumph, but when I left the hospital that day, my cousin from Georgia called me, and I immediately told her the news. And the thing that she said to me, and I put this in my first book too, the thing that she said to me that stood out so much is the first thing she said was, just breathe. Just breathe. And that was huge for me because there was so many things going on in my head. But she said, just breathe. And when I got home, I dropped to my knees. And I said, this is yours, God. This is yours. I don't know what to do with this. I'm not even going to try. This is yours. I am giving this to you. And the Sunday after that, I went to church and I laid it on the altar. And I said, God, this is yours. And then I went into research mode. And I started researching nutrition and environment. And because I was like, how is it that my body accepted cancer? How is that? So I just started going into research mode and really found my purpose and passion throughout this whole experience, because I loved learning about nutrition and learning about the environment and the effects of that on the body, which is how the Reset Coach came about.
Mm-hmm.
in short form, right? that's
Yes.
that's how the reset coach came about.
Wow. And what an amazing story. And you have me flashing back, honestly. I I I remember I remember too what that call was like. And you said you were actually at the hospital when they gave you the information. It was, what date was that again? What was that?
Wow, that was like around November 13th of 2012.
2012.
Mhm.
So it was September, it was August 8th, 2018 for me. And as I share with you and so many others, it's like I am retired from the United States Army. And, even when I joined the Army, the slogan that I will always remember was fun, travel, and adventure. Join the military, fun, travel, and adventure. You get to enjoy fun, travel, and adventure. But that adventure part, I think it was, I took it lightly.
Mhm.
I didn't, I'm thinking adventure is it's like you get to do adventurous things, but what it turned out to be was I got to be a part of real battles. No
Mhm.
more little cowboys with the bang bang shooting with the fingers. This is like
Yeah.
you're getting real ammunition, you're getting real weapons, and you're actually going to a real war, and you're involved in a real battle. So I'm thinking that when I retired, that I was saying goodbye to all my battles. You
Mhm.
know, no more battles for Betty Speaks. It's goodbye. Got
Mhm.
rid of all the uniforms and the boots. All the battle equipment. And then on the 8th of August 2018, when everyone was celebrating the life of being around for that particular date, August 8th, 2018, when will there ever be another 888 day? And everyone is like in celebration of that. And my phone rings at 8:30, and then it's my doctor. Who gets a call from their doctor that early in the morning? Are we going out for tea or something? Or is this an early date or breakfast or something? But no, she wanted to tell me because, like you, I had done the biopsy and they weren't pretty.
Mhm.
I actually physically could see you lying on that table and weeping. And here I am lying on a table, but I'm faced up and I'm like being graphic too with my feet in the stirrup, both of them like, as if we were doing the test that we do every 2 years now, because it was yearly, but now they've changed it for
Mhm.
2 years. So as I'm sitting there and she's with these shears and getting a piece of my skin, and it's very painful. I had no idea that what I was being tested for, what the biopsy was for. I just knew that I had been having pains in my lower back. And my primary care doctor said, well, we're going to send you to women's health care. And I'm thinking, but this is my back. Why do I need to go over there? But to get that call on August 8th, 2018 at 8:30 from my doctor to say you've tested positive for cancer,
Mhm.
it was like what? Here I am in a state where I am my own family. My
Mhm.
husband is away and it's just me, and I'm listening to this doctor that loves herself some Betty Speaks to the point where she feels as though she has to be the one to tell me
Mhm.
that I have cancer,
Mhm.
as if that was going to make me feel better.
Yeah.
It was like, can we just be silent for a few moments?
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah.
And you know what you said, can we just be silent? It's almost like that. That's automatic, right? Everything kind of goes silent except for what's happening in your head,
Mhm.
except for what you're hearing in your head. Like, because there's so many questions that start to come up in your head and everything else is silent around you. I really don't feel like I heard anything happening in that room. You know, I just felt the tears coming down my face, and I felt the nurse rubbing my arm, but I didn't hear anything. I didn't even hear the apparatus underneath the table as they were taking the second biopsy. Like everything went silent and even dark almost, and I was just in my head at that moment.
Yes, likewise.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, how many of our other sisters, it puts you in that questions like, now I know how my other sisters felt when
Mm-hmm.
they got the word. And what do I do about this feeling?
Mm-hmm.
You know, what Betty Speaks did. I just even remember saying goodbye to the doctor. You know that my phone ring constantly all day long. It rang the next day and the next day and the next day. I went literally maybe more than 2 weeks, but I think I narrowed it down to about 2 weeks,
Mm-hmm.
not telling anyone. I was dealing with it alone by myself. I didn't share it with anyone because I didn't know what to say. I didn't even get into the research mode at that particular point. I was still like, did she just call me
Mm-hmm.
and say that I have that 6 letter word,
Mm-hmm.
you know? And then my phone rang and I saw the picture on the phone. It was a friend of mine named Brandy. And I remember seeing Brandy's face. I always questioned what was going on with Brandy's face. And she finally said to me one day that she had skin cancer. And the only reason I answered that phone was the connection.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
she was so happy, like, hey girl, how you doing? I was just thinking about you really, really hard. It was like on my heart to call you. And I decided to call you. Brandy and I hadn't talked for months,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and it seemed like she called me at that opportunity when I needed to hear her voice the most.
Mm-hmm.
And my voice is like shivering, and I'm trying to be as joyful as she is.
Mm-hmm.
And she's recognized that something is wrong, and she says, what's wrong? And I said to her, I have cancer. And it's like, she asked the question, and next thing you know, she was at my door. You know, she lives 50 miles away from me, and she was at my door
Mm-hmm.
as
But
if,
that's God. That's God. Giving you
yes,
what you need when you need it.
yes. And she was there every step of the way, even told my husband to move out of the way when he came home. She informed my husband for me because I didn't know how to. She was at the doctor's appointments with me asking questions that I couldn't ask. And it was as if she took control for the most part because this is not home for us. And I felt so, I don't know, it was like I think I had given up on myself as opposed to fighting. Like
Mm-hmm.
most people, when I've heard so many successful testimonies when the doctor said I had cancer, but I went back and he said that you have no more cancer. Well, that wasn't my story. That wasn't my story at all. But I've heard so many people say that. Yes, they said I have cancer, but I went back and it was they couldn't find any evidence of it. And that's great.
Mm-hmm.
But he gives, and you said this to me earlier. We talked about being the chosen one,
Mm-hmm.
and we because this you talk. Tell me because you talked about the signs that were there. Tell
Mm-hmm.
tell the audience about that because you
Okay.
talked about that.
Yeah, so just thinking about the signs that were happening before, and not even right before, I'll get into the right before, which I have mentioned as well, but just to talk about the signs before, like years prior to having cancer, I had fibroids, and those fibroids had been there for a while. And when I got pregnant with my son, there was one in particular that was growing along with my son. And fortunately enough for me, after they removed my son from me because I had a C-section, after they took him out, that fibroid began to diminish and it started to get smaller again. So I never had anything done with the fibroids, and I still have them, to this day. I have really small ones there to this day. But I think that was a precursor to the cancer, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that in a minute. But those things were growing inside of me. And then before my son, actually, I had an ordeal where I was working in New York City. And fortunately enough, my brother was working in New York City as well. But I was experiencing some really tough menstrual pain, like so much so that it had me bent over. And this was before
Wow.
my son was born. That was attributed to the fibroids. I found out later on that was attributed to the fibroids. But I was in so much pain. I was in the women's restroom, and at the time, the job that I was working for, we had in the restroom there was a bench, and it was like in a little hallway before you actually got to the stalls where you use the bathroom. Yeah. So I was just bent over on this bench for so long that one of the young men on my team came to look for me. And he cracked the door open and called my name. And I said to him, "Come into the vestibule. I need to give you my brother's number. He has to come get me. I can't move." So this was like all precursors, I believe, to that leading up to the cancer. And then when my son, when I conceived my son and that fibroid started growing, once I found out about the breast tumors, and after going through the process with the doctors, I found that those breast tumors were built on estrogen.
Wow.
So all of this was really the warning signs, those warning signals that you get in your body before cancer happens. Now, had I been educated the way that I am now, I would have known about that. But back then, I did not know. So I really wasn't aware that cancer could happen as a result of, the high hormones, the overly hormonal person that I was for so long. I didn't really know at the time that was a precursor for cancer. So these were things that were happening to me beforehand. But like I told Antoinette Marie on her show, God had really shown up in a big way for me October of 2012. So when you think about the events, like Hurricane Sandy happened, and I mentioned I'm sitting there, and me and my son are there. We got the candles on. We're watching like this portable DVD player, and he was little. We were watching Disney movies, and I was praying about a tree outside, my neighbor's tree, and I'm praying and praying about this tree. And Lord, please don't let this tree fall. Don't let it fall on her house or mine. Please keep this tree standing, right? And all of this is happening, and like I told her, there was such a peace that came over my house, and there was my house, like my first floor just lit up. Now, mind you, the power's out, right? So there's no lights on outside, but my house lit up. And all I had on was candles, but that was God showing up, and it was such a peace. It was like a dome came down over my house. And I still remember just this feeling. And I didn't realize at the time, I thought this was about the tree. And it was really about God showing up saying, "I got you." That's what it was. And I didn't realize that until I found out I had cancer. But to think about it, it happened a month apart. So that was October 2012. And then I got the news of the cancer in November of 2012. So it was like so the reason why I went so ham on, research was because he showed up so big the month before that he had already said to me, "I got you."
Wow. I love that, especially how you said like that. It was as if a dove came over your house. And I remember Hurricane Sandy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I remember that.
Yeah.
That's a power story. Now, if you had to give one quote about your experience, something that, and you've already said your spiritual beliefs, you already talked about that. What would be that quote that you could share with someone in terms of your experience with cancer?
Well, for me, because of what was born out of this, having cancer and finding my purpose, it really was the two most important days in your life are the day you are born and the day you find out why.
Yes, I love that.
That is one of my favorite quotes, and that came out of that whole experience and being able to find my purpose from that whole experience, and then all of the things that started to happen after the fact. So to be able to find out my why, because really I was living in the status quo for so long, and to be able to find out my why and start to live and focus on the why, and what God has for me going forward is so monumental. So that's one of my favorite quotes.
I love that. That is that is so amazing, unbelievable. And you know, the other thing is we spoke about a young lady that's very prominent that was appointed a position in office that lost the battle to cancer, but she gave it a hard fight, and most of us do. Um, and that was Ruth Bader Ginsburg. We just want to give a a moment of silence to her wherever you are. Just keep her. Again, we October is that month where we give moments of silence to so many women that have lost the fight. My stepmom was one of them, and she and I were very close. I'm going to just do a quick 5-second moment of silence for those two ladies. And we thank them for definitely setting the way and coming forward with what their experiences, and not being bashful, and educating us on the fact that we don't just have breast cancer, um, and that I remember when I was told that I had cancer, and even doing just participating in cancer awareness, to know that there's so many, I want to say like 200 different variants of cancer. And my father, excuse me, um, he passed and with cancer in 2014, and he had um, two of the cancers that he was battling with. And it's I always say dad gave up on himself, because there's still some fight left, but this is it's such a struggle for some people. It's like it is such a tough battle with the care that one has to go through. And that's my next question to you: is what type of care did you have to interact with?
Well, initially, as I started to research, I still was, listening to my doctors, and I made a decision to have a mastectomy. So I went drastic because I didn't want to go through chemotherapy or
Mm-hmm.
radiation. So I asked them to just remove the breast completely.
Mm-hmm.
And then I started taking an estrogen inhibitor called tamoxifen afterwards. And I took that for a year and a half. And the side effects from that drug were it was just painstaking. I mean, I used to feel like I was in a frozen tundra one moment and then feel like I was sitting in the middle of a fire. And I had joint pain. And then the final thing that did it for me was I started to bruise. And
Mm.
they kept saying that, bruising is not attributed to this drug. But as I was going online and looking at the blogs from other women, it was happening to other women as well who were also taking it. So I said to my oncologist, I'm not doing this anymore. And because I kept researching food and environment and how to better take care of your body with natural herbs and food, I said, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not going to take this drug. I'm getting off of it cold turkey. That's it. I'm done. The
Mm.
bruising stopped. The joint pain stopped. The hot and cold stopped. Everything stopped after I stopped taking it. And I changed my eating habits significantly.
Mm.
Like I always say to people, like my family was raised in the South. We cooked the normal Southern food. I ate everything under the sun. My mother used to tease me and say I ate like a truck driver. Like I am a foodie. I am a foodie at heart, but I changed my eating habits completely. Like I did a real turnaround when it came to what I was putting in my body, because I understood that food has a lot to do with our bodies accepting illness. So I changed that. The environment, I changed my home environment in terms of like what I'm using in my household, to not attribute to or not give myself the chemicals that attribute to some of the things that allow your body to accept cancer. But then I had to really be mindful of, how do I take care of myself? So I started working out like a nut. I always worked out, but it was more sporadic. It was more here and there when I felt like it. But now I do that religiously. So and I love it. And I love it. But I just really started to pay attention to what I'm doing to my body, and just being mindful of how I manage my stress, and just being mindful of, what I'm allowing, the energy that I'm allowing around me, because everything plays a part. Everything plays a part.
That is so lovely. I love everything you just said. Tell my son I love him.
I will.
It's I love everything you said, and it's so true. People don't get it. It's like when you talk about energy, I want to tell you this story because I don't think I shared it with you yesterday when we spoke. My husband and I just getting back from North Dakota, and I didn't realize that we were there too. So we just so but we've been gone for like a week, and the landscapers, whom I love, love, love my landscapers, they had remulched the yard and repositioned some of the plants. And we got home that night. We got home Thursday night, and I actually said we're going in through the garage. He's like, why are we going in through the garage? Why are we taking the sidewalks? Because I didn't know. It was late in the evenings, and I didn't know what was on the sidewalk. So I just said, I want to go to the garage. I could see and everything. So the next day he says, honey, you have to come out and look what the landscapers did to the yard. So again, I walked out through the garage to go to the front of the yard. And it's just my intuition. I think that being careful, being mindful, keeping your energy where it needs to be, what makes you feel good, you do just that. So as I walked to the front, I said, honey, is that a snake? And he goes, it is. And I'm thinking, I'm not coming over there. He said, he says it's dead though. I was like, mm-mm. He may be playing dead. So he's like, no, seriously, it is dead. It's not moving. It's dead. I'm going to go get a shovel and I'll move it. I said, okay. And I'm still not coming anywhere over there to look at this beautiful landscaping. But he goes to get the shovel and he scoops the snake up on the shovel. And as he's walking away to toss the snake, he wanted to place it in the street. I don't know why. The snake crawls off of the shovel and goes.
Oh no.
I'm getting the weeby jeebies just thinking about it. So I'm thinking, he said that snake wasn't dead. I said, I knew it wasn't dead. I could just it just looked like it was pretending to be dead. And my energy was like, that thing's not dead. But he played dead. And then he literally slithered off of the shovel and buried himself underneath the grass, because we have the taller type grass. And I said, I'm not going digging for that snake, honey. You got to find him. He's like, I can't find him. He went into the ground. So I'm thinking that you talk about energy, and my energy means so much to me to be in the midst of positive energy, to the point where I knew that I didn't want to go through, go get into the house by way of taking the sidewalk onto the front patio and then getting in, because our lights usually come on when we drive onto the parking pad, but it didn't. So we went in by way of the garage. So when you talked about that energy thing, And to me, anyone that knows me knows that I have a phobia for snakes. If I know that I've walked over snakes and didn't even know that one was there until someone said, "You just walked over a snake,"
Mhm.
or when someone says, "Don't move," and a snake literally crawls across my foot, it's that you just stand still. That energy.
Mhm.
Um, it's what makes us feel good. And you also mentioned exercise. That's something that here where I am, they send me an email every week letting me know what's going on over at the oncology center, where they're having group walks, they're having like a music section, they do so much to accommodate the tribe that we're in now. So this is like being with a new tribe now for me, and we all have something in common, and they do everything to make us feel better. So I want you to share with everyone about how can they get in touch with you, especially like I said, there are millions each day, based on the American Society, Cancer Society reports. Every day, millions of people are affected by cancer. And like you and I, we went through that silent moment of wailing and um, of just like, just questioning questions popping in our mind. How can they get in touch with my sister today and say, "Listen, help me breathe"?
Sure, sure. I think the easiest way is on social media. I am Tracie Randolph on Facebook and also the Reset Coach on Facebook. I am the underscore reset underscore coach on Instagram. I'm also Tracie Randolph, the Reset Coach on LinkedIn, and Tracie Randolph, the Reset Coach on Web Talk. So I am out there. They can also email me at Tracie, TRACIER, at theresetglobal.com. You can find me there. And then the Reset Coach website is under construction, so that will be coming soon.
Yes, and don't make this mistake like I did, audience. We all know the easy way to spell Tracy is Tracy, but not for this Tracy.
No, no, my dad named me and he decided to spell it with an IE. I believe back in the day, that's the way the boys spelled the name Tracy, with the CIE, but my dad decided that he wanted to spell it that way.
Well, Tracy, this has been it's so much fun, just going through this with you, rehashing what we went through and working our way through it. You have told us how we can take care of ourselves and stay motivated and definitely stay energized, and even if for those that are just finding out, you want to connect with the Reset Coach, because
Absolutely.
she has that voice, um and then we'll share the tear with you too, because you never know who um has been exposed to cancer and how they handled it, and what they're doing today about it. So you definitely have a sisterhood here. This is a genuine tribe, and if no one else could reset you, I promise you the Reset Coach will do it.
I appreciate you.
Yes, yes. Tracy, is there anything else you would like to share with us, before we say our farewells for now?
Yeah, I would just say to everyone out there, pay attention to your body, listen to the signs, recognize when something just doesn't quite feel right, and be proactive about it.
Yes, definitely. Definitely, because I tell you, and not just you, pay attention to your teenagers
Mhm.
too, and it's not just a girl thing anymore, pay attention to all. So we want to thank the Reset Coach for tuning in. with us today. This has been, Dr. Betty Speaks with Overcoming Battles. I promise you, if you need to get in touch with Dr. Tracie, the ambassador, please feel free to reach out to me. You find everything that we talk about here on this show is something that is reality, things that happen to us or someone that we know for real, in real time. So again, thank you so much for tuning in to Overcoming Battles. We look forward to you listening in with us next Wednesday here at the same place, same time.